Welcome to
My
Bonehead Weekly.
business, you would say, is nothing but the finest of ladies of the night. See, that's what you need to say, Chad. Now, by the way, if you're just tuning in to Bonehead and you're wondering what we are talking about, for your love gift of $10,000, we'll reenact the last 20
Yeah,
minutes.
Well,
you
okay.
so our audience just missed a whole 10-minute conversation. That's going to be the gold of this episode, and the rest is just downhill. So y'all are catching the bad side of this. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, let's tell them. So Chad keeps getting stopped in 3 to 4 different stores asking
No, it's
and
5 to
complaining,
10
it's
different
yeah, it's
stores.
between 5
complaining
and
to
10.
him because they think he's management. So I want to know what kind of ego this son of a bitch has that he looks like he's management.
In all fairness, he is definitely, you give off manager vibes, Chad. Sorry.
Guys,
Please don't fire me. I've got
well,
a
and that's the
family to
thing.
feed.
We have known each other for almost Joe and I over 20 years. James and I are almost at the 20-minute,
Yeah,
20
yeah.
year,
20
20
minute,
minute.
we're at the 20-minute mark right
Yeah,
now.
and he's
I
already
swear to
sick
God,
of this.
it's 18
James-
and a half too many.
James and I are almost at 20 years. I think. Are we over?
Yeah,
I don't think we're at
2023
years,
should
buddy.
be 20. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually
2023.
2020. Yeah.
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 You all know how I am in social settings by myself. I usually slump down with my head down, just looking at what I'm doing. And I realize, oh, that's most people who work in retail.
That's management. Yeah, dude, that's solid management.
They're like,
the
I
only
have to be here. I don't want people to bother me. Maybe if I just shrink into a corner,
the
I'm just
only way you could look more like manager is if you actually ran toward the door marked office every time somebody approached you. That would be the only way you could be more of a manager.
well, yeah, and the funny story, and here's a true story before we get into the taste, because it's perfect because this is our Christmas episode and we're talking about shopping. But
And this is
there
going to
was
come out on Christmas Day.
yeah, there was one instance where I was in a store and it's a small, it's a small chain store, and I'm looking at a shirt, and there's this woman who has to be in her late 50s, early 60s, coked out of her mind.
Could have
Just
been going.
no, the way she was talking, it was not heroin.
Yeah.
She was loud. You could hear her from every corner of the store. She's like, I don't know where this thing is. I got to find it. I just saw it 15 minutes ago. And she's dragging this elderly man in a walker with an oxygen tank who could barely move. We got to find it. Blah, blah, blah. And in the back of my head, I'm looking at this shirt. I'm like, she's going to ask me. She's going to ask me. And I start to move off. And right when I move off, she goes, sir, do you work here? No, ma'am. I'm looking at this polo. Are you sure? Yes. Verbatim.
Come to think about it, bitch, you're right. Should ask them for a raise.
Great.
Thank you very much. And walk on in there. Go, I'm going to go give them my good so-and-so a piece of my mind. I'm worth another straw penny.
Turned out she was looking for a pillow. A pillow.
Well, did you tell
Well,
her she had
pillows
two
aren't the
dirty
shirt
ones on her
section.
chest?
That's not where pillows are.
So, but what I told Chad is I want him to learn the whole soliloquy or whatever you want to call it from John Candy from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And every time someone says it, you go, you know what? I like me. My customers like me because I'm the real deal. What you see is what you get. I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you. Just keep going.
Well, and Joe,
I promise him that it only happened twice.
I'm not saying I don't know the quote, but two things happen to me when somebody says, "Hey, Chad, pull a movie quote." My brain freezes up and I just start jumbling up the words and I can't think of it. And also, too,
Chad, that'll work too.
I am not good socially.
Chad, that's the reason why this is the perfect thing for you.
No, Joe, you're wrong. From now on,
I've never
Chad,
heard that before.
From now on, Chad, don't do that soliloquy. Just immediately, I want you to think of one of the most.
It's not really a soliloquy, is it?
No, because he's speaking to someone.
Yeah.
But one of the most heart-wrenching scenes of all time, and I can guarantee you it will stop people from talking to you. All you gotta do is look at them and say, "Ship out of danger," and then end with, "I have been and always will be your friend," and you've got to finish it by slumping down. You have to slowly fall to the ground dead. And if they don't walk off, they need to do an episode of our show because those people know they're geeked.
I am 100%, 75% behind that.
Yeah, literally just begin automatically, no matter what they say. I want to file a complaint. Just turn her ship out of danger. Just doesn't matter. From then on, you've got it.
We'll follow up with our next episode, which I believe will be our best of. We three are actually we're getting together tomorrow for one of our rare get-togethers to go Christmas shopping. We'll see if it happens then, folks. If somebody flags me down.
Well,
Oh
now
my
I
God.
just want to take you places to find out.
I
They put a
know.
name
Oh,
tag
no,
on
no.
you.
And one of us, if it happens tomorrow, one of us should pretend to be the regional manager going, I'm here to check up on him. Is he
That's
giving
not a
you
bad
problems?
idea. That's not
Is
a
he
bad
giving you
idea.
problems?
Oh, one of us carry around a clipboard, please. Clipboard
Yeah,
with a
yeah. And then there's got to be one of us who's just shit. I could do that. I could be the asshole one.
And
I'm
he
like,
could say,
I'm
"You
tired of
need-
working for this
You're
chicken
doing a
shit
terrible
outfit.
job. You get out of here right now. You're done with this place."
We
So,
turned our
Thank you, man, for pointing out his
Oh,
idiocy.
yeah, he's
we
incompetent.
turned our eye the other way when you brought in those dancers. But now and I'm starting to think that wasn't talcum powder.
When you
I'm
help-
starting to think that.
When you hit all of those dead kittens in those throw pillows.
And Chad, you got to have an onion in your pocket so you can sniff it and get the tears out as you're walking away, and you go, "Thank you so much." And by the and I could just say things like, "Great, call accounting, stop his bones."
Yeah. And we'll do the entire thing, and I'll be like, yeah, now, I mean, it's true that he was going to adopt those 4 orphans, but if he can't make sure the stock is on the shelf and treat you with respect, man, those orphans don't deserve to live. No, thank you for reenacting the darkest version of the Christmas Carol by getting that man fired.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, thank you all so much. It's been Bonehead. We'll see you after the
Good night.
holidays. So our topic this week is because of Christmas is our favorite Santas.
Yes.
I don't have a ton.
Seriously?
No.
Yeah, I had to narrow mine down. I was wondering if you all I've put a few on my list. And I was like, okay, I need to have some backups because I was afraid mine are more popular.
I
didn't know
got
if they-
3.
Okay, I've got 5. And I figure, and here's the thing: when we talked about this last week, we're like, what do we do for a Christmas episode? And I brought up, well, let's talk about our favorite Santas. We all 3 had one. Joe just didn't know we had it. And I gladly gave
You know
it.
what? I forgot which Santa I picked last week.
Well, me and James, like when I came up with this topic, James and I both had a gleam in our eye because we knew one that we wanted to talk about, and we thought, and it wasn't in your mind yet, and then it came up. So I am actually going to start the episode with letting James talk about that one. James, are you ready?
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite
He doesn't remember
Santas
either.
in popular culture. No, of course I
Of course he
remember because
does.
it is because if you think about how times have
Oh,
changed,
now I
and
remember.
occasionally Christmas films will address this, right? Elf does it a little bit by pointing out that times have changed and how do you keep the spirit. Well, of course, if we go even further into the future,
Hold
it's
on
going to
for
be
1
even.
minute. I tried to teach my son the song.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
If you
Keep
go
going, James.
if you go even further into the future, of course, it's going to be more important. So how are you going to address that? Well, of course, you're going to have to create a automaton, if you will, a robot Santa, and of course, I am talking about Santa Claus from Futurama.
Yeah.
So basically, if you've never seen Futurama before, you should watch it. It's coming back for the 3rd or 4th or 5th time. I don't know. And by the way, I'm still pumped about it.
I am too.
But Futurama, so they create once that we have robots and everything, they create a Santa. The problem is that Santa starts to judge everyone as naughty and decides that he will punish them. That's basically the premise. So Christmas, or as they call it, Xmas. It's like it's a funny way you pronounce axe, like ask. Anyway, Xmas, and they have to literally shelter in place. They can't go out because if you're caught out, you're automatically going to be judged naughty, and basically Santa's going to kill you.
Right.
And so that's the premise, and it sounds really horrific, but it is fall down funny. Every episode that has Santa in it. Every Christmas episode of Futurama is great. And every episode that has Santa also has some of the greatest lines ever. An example of that would be the oft-quoted line that I know the Boneheads have quoted. It's not said by Santa, but it's said by Fry in the episode, "I'm going to buy you so many stink lizards."
Lizards.
Yeah.
Um,
If I've had a quarter.
yeah, I mean, And so Santa shows up, and again, they have to shelter. They can't, because he will judge you as naughty. And the episodes that come up later, there's the Hanukkah zombie, there's Kwanzaa bot, there's these other characters that expand kind of that universe, and but it's just so many great scenes when they go to the North Pole and they meet the elves who may actually be horribly inbred and drunks and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And Bender, their robot, has to take Santa's place, and he realizes, okay, yeah, he's a terrible, but it's also a terrible job, right? So, but yeah, I just, as I was saying about Santa's, maybe it shows where I am mentally, but it's the example that came to mind was you can't talk about Santa in pop culture without acknowledging Futurama's Santa.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Don't you ever knock. Who knows what naughty things I could be watching? I get New Orleans on this thing,
Actually, Joe, you want to do the best line, and it belongs to Bender, but I think it's in the first appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. I know these guys. They've got nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sir, should I-
and also Santa Claus is gunning you down. Sorry.
Or the other thing is Santa Bot gives Bender a present, and he opens up and it's empty, and Chief goes, "Hey, there's nothing in here." And Santa Bot goes, "Oh, it might appear empty, but the message is clear. Play Santa again, and I'll kill you next year."
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
Flintstones Christmas shirt.
What now?
Nothing. Out of the blue.
Are you
Out of the
shopping
blue.
while we're
No,
doing this?
I'm not shopping. Those damn ads as I'm pulling up my Santa stuff. I know, Chad, if you're watching the YouTube, James is a really cool cat wearing a Santa outfit on
He's
a
had that for many a year.
but he keeps
but
popping into those when you're going through and they get those
pop-ups. They're called
Yes,
pop-up ads.
yes.
They pop up. That's what they call them there, Gramps.
Well, hold on. I'm going to go next unless Chad has a burning desire.
No, go for it.
Because mine actually is fairly serious.
Oh,
What?
No, go ahead. I'll follow it up with another one of on James's lines. James, were you done, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have
I mean, he
anything else
didn't really
to
have
add.
anything else to say important.
Okay, gotcha.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So, as you all know, we've done many episodes of The Twilight Zone, and one of my favorite ones was written by Rod Serling. And I actually it's directed by Jack Smite, and I want to talk about The Night of the Meek. It was episode 47 from the original Twilight Zone, and Art Carney plays a Santa who is a drunk, who is absolutely fed up with humanity. He's disgusted with all the commercialism, and it's one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, and it has a lot of magic towards the end. And basically, he finds a sack, and he's able to give out real toys to all the poor kids who can't afford them. Art Carney gives, I think, really an Emmy award-winning performance in this, gentlemen. A few years, this is one of the ones that they would actually remake for the 1980s reboot. Not of the and it starred, I can't remember. That's actually what I was looking for, Chad, when you said, "Why are you shopping?" It started showing up. Oh, what was his name? The guy from Empty Nest.
Oh, Jesus, I forgot his name.
Let me, while you're talking, do you guys remember this episode? I'm sure.
I know of it. I vaguely remember it. I can't place it. I just can't. And it's one of those Twilight Zones.
Richard Mulligan, who actually was a great character actor who went on to marry a porn star, FY. Anyway, Richard Mulligan.
The star of Empty Nest?
Yeah. Look, Google it. towards the end of his life, yeah. Good for him. Anyway, Richard Mulligan would also do this episode, and it works.
Never could go on a golf course.
No. Well, you could guess scream Richard or Dick.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dick Mulligan, get your ass in here. So I actually just love this episode. If you've never seen it, once again, used to on the Sci-Fi Channel before it went to Syfy, and you could always count on the 4th of July, New Year's Eve, New Year's having an Amazon. Shit, why can't I talk? Twilight Zone marathon. We were talking about this in an episode the other day. I went ahead and finally bought just the whole set on Blu-ray. I've yet to put them in. That may be the first one I put in. It's just one of my favorite Christmas shows. It's something that I try to watch every year, and I love Art Carney's performance in it. Is it a little schmaltzy? Yes. Yes, it is, because I don't want to give away the ending, but things show up and it gets a little bit supernatural, even more supernatural. But I love that it's a lot of the Twilight Zone was schmaltzy. It's just like everybody bitches about Star Trek being preachy now. And James, you know this. Did you all not watch the original episodes in the 60s and what they were
Yeah,
being preachy
yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
No, and it's always those gifs you see with no, you can see his face is clearly black on the white side and white on the other side. They were preachy as hell in the 60s.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of that's changed.
Yeah. I mean,
You've changed. Things
Yeah.
that bother you now aren't the same things then.
And I
So,
was going to say, and the things that upset people then, I mean,
yeah.
they got letters about, yeah, you shouldn't preach about racism. You shouldn't.
Or the first interracial kiss.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Are the stuff that they don't, that now the people that were like, oh, they were the kids, right? They were the kids that were saying, well, of course this is fine with us. And it's the same way now. The stuff that's making people upset, it's not making me upset. I still love Star Trek. I watch it all. I've never seen anything that I'm like, well, now I have to send a letter. Matter of fact, I think we should do an episode of that. What would it take to make you send a letter? Because I can't think of. I mean, it
can't
would have
think
to
of a
be
damn
bad.
thing.
It would have to be bad.
There
I'll just
is-
change channel.
There is one interesting thing about the original Night of the Meek. On when it originally aired December 23rd, 1960, and ended with the words "and a Merry Christmas to each and all." But actually, they deleted that from the reruns in the 80s. Did you all know this?
No.
And the VHS re-releases and the 5 DVD set, the definitive edition. The phrase is heard in the Blu-ray release of season 2, as well as a version streamed by Netflix, but with noticeably different sound quality from the rest of Sterling's narration. As broadcast on the MeTV network on Christmas Day 2019 and thereafter, the last line has been restored in syndication. I didn't know it. I didn't even know that. But I don't understand why they took it out. I
Yeah.
guess just because of the Christmas.
It's not the
thing, but
definitive collection if they change shit.
Yeah, that's true.
which is a problem for us. When we've
Yeah.
talked about this before, it's the reason why I went ahead and bought the DVD, when I went ahead and bought the Blu-ray set, even though it's clearly accessible and streaming all the time. But James, if it's sitting on the shelf, what is
They can't take it from you. They
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 can't.
can, but they're going to have to show up.
They're going to have to
Speaking
show
of
up.
which, by the way, I do have to say this, and it doesn't feature Santa, so forgive me. But you can watch the original Muppets Christmas Carol with the song restored. And if you don't know, now you know. There's a song that was cut for the video release. If you go and watch it on Disney Plus, though, if you just hit play, you won't get it. You've got to go into options and do the full cut, and you can watch the original theatrical release that way. Just FYI, if you are a fan, or if you've never seen Muppets Christmas Carol and want to see it in its full gestalt, I guess you can watch it that way. So just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Chad.
Well, since you guys did 2 TV, I'll do a TV too. So I don't think there's been a better performance of Santa on TV than the one I'm going to pick. He really captures the essence of what Santa's all about protecting Christmas, making sure kids get their presents to celebrate the holidays. And I'm going to pull one of my quotes from this Santa to start with. I just couldn't let him live. He shocked Santa's balls. I am talking about Trey Parker's interpretation of Santa Claus as seen on South Park.
Yeah.
I love the Santa on South Park. He's one of the brightest spots when he's on there. He's only been on a handful of times, but when he's on there, I am absolutely giddy. And that one is from his it's not technically his first appearance. His first appearance was on the very first South Park that ever got created, where it was Santa versus Jesus or Santa versus Frosty. I can't remember. I think it's Santa versus Jesus. But this one was actually it's called Red Sleigh Down. And Cartman, he wants is a robot dog that he can starve and let die and then bring it back to life. But he has so many things on his naughty list that even if he cured cancer and AIDS in 1 week, he would still owe Santa 2 presents. So what does he do? He tries to con his way into getting this dog from Santa. So he goes to the North Pole, which is the Fortress of Solitude, and convinces Santa that he really needs to work on bringing Christmas to everyone. And by doing that, he has to deliver presents to the kids in Iraq. And as he does, he is promptly shot down. And Santa says, sleigh crashed. Santa's sleigh crashed. Santa's reindeer dead. Both Santa's legs broken. Santa very sad. And it's all about him being tortured. And then there's another episode where, you know, it takes place years later. I think it's season 19, where he suddenly is tired of watching people drink and drive on Christmas and getting wrecks and killing each other. So he puts out a city ordinance that bans alcohol until after the new year. So the city goes to Stan Marsh and he starts selling his special Christmas snow marijuana, which is Christmas snow, which is marijuana laced with cocaine. And then Santa gets that blocked. So then he just starts snorting. He sells straight cocaine. And then there's a great scene where Santa and him are in the forest snorting cocaine. And then they get Jesus in on it. And they're like, oh, it's a mellow high, man. It's a mellow high. So yeah, you can't talk about
cocaine.
Yeah, you can't talk.
I agreed with me.
I gave James Santa bot so I could talk about Santa Claus on South Park. So that's my first pick.
All right, James.
You know, I don't want to take it from everybody else, but I do think I have to acknowledge it so I can then acknowledge my third one I want to talk about. And so I have to go with Billy Bob Thornton's Bad Santa.
Didn't take it from
me either.
I think it is one of the most oddly iconic Santas that ends up having weirdly a lot of heart in it.
Oh, so sorry. Keep going.
What now?
Joe's not paying attention to the show.
I am paying attention. Every time I'm going to pull up my damn research for the next thing, something pops up.
Shopping and watching YouTube.
James is watching Bad something. Moms?
Sure.
Bad Mom Christmas.
You know, I don't know if I've seen that one. Now I've seen the first one. I watched it with the wife. Anyway, no, Bad Santa, oddly
Bad
enough.
Moms with his wife.
Yeah, my wife actually likes spending time with me. She has no taste, but you know.
What's that like?
Once again, it's proof she has no taste. She wants to spend time with me. Anyway,
I want to spend time with you tomorrow.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't exactly implying you had a wealth of taste either.
Well, I was just hoping now I had something in common with your wife. Can you give her my number?
I mean, yeah. Now you got to remember.
You don't want to stand in the way, do you? Bud?
I don't know. No, I mean it's. Sorry. Listen, best case scenario, you end up happy. Worst case scenario, you disappoint her so much that I look better. Either way, buddy, it's a win. Anyway,
yeah, I agree.
But no, Bad Santa is oddly enough, if you've never seen the movie, Bad Santa is a bad Santa. He's a mall Santa. They rob the places that they Santa at. It's a dark comedy that is hilarious. But at the same time, his Santa ends up having weirdly a lot of heart in the right situation, right? I mean, he's a terrible human being. But he does have a little bit of growth where he realizes, okay, yeah, this kid doesn't have a shot. This kid's, you know,
a shot in hell.
And so at least I can do something to help this kid. Now he's terribly misguided.
Yep.
And what he's going to do to help this kid is not good. Don't go in thinking you're going to watch It's a Wonderful Life, because it ain't this
scene where
movie.
he beats up the kids is still ingrained in my mind as one of the funniest moments I've seen in live in a theater and could not stop laughing.
Oh yeah. No, the scene where he tries to teach a kid how to box, and instead of actually doing it himself, he makes is it Tony Cox?
Yeah.
Tony Cox, he makes him do it because he says, "Oh, you're about the same size as the kid," which he's not. And it's just I mean, everything about the movie is terrible, but it's a lot of fun. And at the end of it, he wants to give the kid a gift. I mean, he knows he's not Santa, but he wants to at least, as he says, the kid's getting his elephant.
Yeah.
He's getting his gift. And there's something about that. And I think in some ways, I think that's almost more of a Santa type reality to me, right? There is this time of year to try to be a better person. Not that there's not an opportunity all the time, but there's something about this time of year. And I even had this conversation with my kids, not by using Bad Santa because they're relatively young, but about there is something to
won't
the
judge you,
spirit of the
James.
season. There is something about the spirit of the season, and I really do think Bad Santa shows that pretty well. Billy Bob Thornton plays honestly one of the most loathsome human beings. The opening narration, where he talks about what he's missing one of his kidneys, he's went and fought in wars, he's done all this stuff, and he's drunk at a bar. And I think in some ways, some of the more, for instance, Violent Night is in theaters now. I haven't got to see it yet. It's on my to-do list. But
maybe this weekend. I'm crossing my fingers.
But I don't think we would have got Violent Night if Bad Santa hadn't been a success. I could be wrong, but I think when you have movies like Bad Santa come out and do relatively well,
hold on, couldn't you say that about Silent Night, Deadly Night?
You could. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's just because of Bad Santa, but Bad Santa is a comedy, and from what I've heard, Violent Night is an action comedy. So take it as you will.
Yeah.
I don't think Silent Night, Deadly Night is a comedy. I mean, maybe it is to you, and in which case, let me drop you off at some sorority.
Would you believe I've never seen it?
Oh, really?
No, I've seen the one with Mickey Rooney. It's like number 3 or 4. Mickey Rooney and Clint Howard. I saw that one, but I've never actually seen the original Silent Night. Have you guys?
No.
No. I remember the box, the rental box, but obviously I wasn't a big horror movie kid.
The only one I've seen is where he comes back and he has the dome over it where you can see his brain.
Yeah, I don't remember which one of that is.
Yeah,
we need to watch more of horror films.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So Bad Santa is, I think,
never watched the picture.
A great Santa picture.
Yeah.
If you're of the right mindset, age, and you're a sick person like me.
Now that he's done this whole 5 to 7 minute spiel about Bad Santa, should we flag him because technically he's not Santa Claus? He's just a guy wearing a Santa outfit. He's not Santa Claus.
In all fairness, Chad, couldn't he be?
Could be.
He functions in Santa works in mysterious ways. I think I got that right. That sounds right.
Let's go
into a half a second before I realized what you were saying.
Let's go into a whole political conversation about how in the modern times that would be Santa. Let's do that, should we?
Now
let's just go into a political conversation about how Santa could not get elected today.
No.
Well, I mean, honestly,
damn hippie giving out to people. Them freeloaders don't need to go get a job by their own shit.
Well, in all fairness, it's even worse than that. He hold on, let me do another line. He is indeed, Joe, the ultimate Yankee. Being up at the North Pole.
It's been a couple of years since I've watched a Christmas episode of.
That's actually that was one of the Santas I was wondering if anybody's going to bring up because I love that Santa too.
Which one?
From Squidbillies.
Oh God, no! I don't have
Santa.
Him.
That's
why don't you take these fish hooks out of Santa's hands? That would help. You're on the crystal meth, aren't you? All right.
Filled with fruity jelly beans. I am not surprised.
I won't do it, Kyler. I won't bring you the still beating heart of Jeff Gordon.
All right. Is it my turn now?
It's your turn.
Okay. Did I already do my serious one?
Where we at?
Yes,
Art
Carney.
You did Art Carney, Twilight Zone.
Well, what? Are you sure it's Chad's turn?
No, you took you remember you jumped in front of me and said, I'm going to do this one. And, because I want to get it out of the way.
So are we doing my third one?
No, you're doing your second one. You're on your number 2.
Remember the spirit of the sea.
No, I swear to God, I completely got lost in what we were talking about. And now
somebody hand him a puzzle so he can have something put together.
You know what's good?
I don't know. You tell me what's good. Joe, Chad, make sure we remember. So if he says it later, we can act surprised.
This damn movie, they've even made a sequel. And this damn movie shouldn't work. It shouldn't work at all. It's a stupid premise. It's a half-assed execution. But Kurt Russell with Santa Claus is freaking amazing.
Yeah,
what, Chad? Did I skip one?
That was my third pick, but that's okay. I got plenty of backups. So yeah, Kurt Russell is amazing as Santa Claus. I never thought out of
It
all the
shouldn't
people,
work, guys.
it shouldn't.
But
Even the
but he
sequel
plays
works.
he plays a nuanced Santa Claus, right?
He
He's
does.
not jolly. He is
A
judgy.
person.
He is
He's a person, and he's not even mean. He's just a person. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. He has. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's nuanced.
He is
able to
Kurt
speak
Russell in a
elf.
Santa Claus outfit.
Well, that's true too. He's just a damn movie star,
He,
Chad. You're
yeah,
right.
he is Kurt Russell from Overboard
Mhm.
in a Santa outfit.
And basically, the movie's about two kids who stow away on Santa's sleigh. And, once again, same old kind of, they end up at the North Pole. One of them doesn't
No.
believe you. They got all this shit.
I don't know
going
if you
on.
remember this. The thing that irked me and James got on board with me too about it was that whole chase scene with the cops in downtown Chicago where there is no traffic.
No traffic.
There's not
at
a
all.
single car on the road.
it's a
No.
Christmas miracle.
And the sequel's not awful with Goldie playing Mrs. Claus.
Oh, I agree. No, my kids like
is
both
it
of them.
great? No.
No.
It shouldn't work, but all of these movies work. The Christmas Chronicles on Netflix. If you've never seen them, and shit, you can show it to your family.
Yeah, that's an annual tradition. I'm going to renew Netflix just so we can watch it.
Oh, really? We haven't done that. We haven't watched that. Well, he hasn't watched it since he was little. He probably won't remember. We're on our second viewing of the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, guys.
Yeah, I'm
He
waiting
says
on
Daddy started it with him Sunday morning when I was texting you all, and I didn't realize I hadn't pushed send whenever that one thing went.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
next week is when I'm going to be angrily texting James and his wife when my kids remember that we have the Grumpy Cat Christmas
Now
special.
we
I do
have
not have
if
it.
you you don't have a copy? Hold on.
I do. I have 14 copies.
You fucked
No,
yourself.
you're right. That's right. Quentin's younger. I didn't get it. Oh,
I have
we'll
14
remedy
copies.
this.
I have
We'll
14
remedy
copies.
this.
What I don't have is I need 4 more copies of the GoBots movie, but I've got plenty. I'm all stocked up on
No.
Audrey Blaza or whatever her name is.
Audrey Plaza.
as the Grumpy. And by the way, I finally watched all the second season of White Lotus. For anybody who listens to this,
I haven't seen any of the White Lotus at all.
it's okay.
Now,
Okay.
from all I remember is the Black Lotus lets you get 3 mana.
Oh, you scared the hell out of me for about half a second.
Why?
Just because I did not know where he was going.
Well, back
Magic
to
the
Christmas
Gathering,
Chronicles and Kurt
Chad.
Russell. Why Kurt Russell's a movie star? Why don't we see him in more? Why? Now what?
I don't know. Why
Why
don't?
don't we see him in more? I swear to God, I don't understand it. Because you're right. It's Kurt Russell.
It's Kurt Russell.
But
Even
now
though Kurt
the-
Russell
the-
wasn't. I think he's a movie star who can actually think Kurt Russell never got his due as an actual actor.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
If you've ever seen that, what's the hockey movie where he
A Miracle.
He's freaking fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, no.
Whether
Kurt
you
Russell,
like hockey or not, he is that person. He is
Russell
fantastic.
is one of my favorite actors. He always will be. And
Yeah.
when he came out as Santa Claus, I'm like, okay, I've got to see it. It's Kurt Russell as Santa Claus.
And him
And then-
speaking elfish, it
Yeah,
just works. I
He
don't.
fully immersed me in Santa Claus, which is not a lot. Which my next pick when we get to my point is going to be the one who actually did it for me as a kid. But Kurt Russell, I mean, as an adult, it's the only time I've seen Santa Claus, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
who's next?
oh, that's me. So yeah, I'll lead into this
It's
one.
been
So, this-
Bonehead Weekly. Hold on, where are we at again?
so as a kid,
The blessing.
Old Man Lewis.
so as a kid, there was only one person who was Santa to me in any Christmas movie, bar none. There's only
That
one person.
hobo down at the park. Oh wait, no, you're talking about in movies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. No,
Uncle Jim gave me a Snickers.
it was a movie that meant a lot to me around the holidays because as we've talked about in previous episodes and on our friends Good Movie Mondays episode when we did together, I am not a big Christmas movie person. I just haven't been even through childhood. I just wasn't. But this one movie,
Which is odd because I hope I'm not telling the stories out of school, but I'm
No.
pretty sure your spouse watches some Hallmark films.
oh yes,
See, I just don't know if a small town guy can convince this big town girl that she should open up a bookshop
In
Midway.
Connecticut?
midway to love.
yeah. So Douglas Seal
Douglas Adams.
from Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh yeah,
That's
no,
it.
I actually that was going to be an honorable mention. I'm glad you
That's a
picked that one.
really I didn't have him listed, Chad, but honestly, I don't know why I say honestly. We say that too much on here. No
Yeah.
shit, that's a good pick. It
Yeah,
really
he
is.
is.
He's really good in that because he's
He
done
is.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is the epitome. He was the epitome of Santa Claus through my whole childhood. He got on there. He was just this sweet man who only cared about was the kids. All he cared about during that whole movie was that girl that runaway, the girl from the movie. And it was just him trying to get another Santa because his magic was running out. And you had Jim Varney being the over the top goofball that he was. But Douglas Seal stole that movie. Being Santa Claus. And I honestly, out of every list I've out of my list and every list that I actually, after I made my list, I did that thing where I go and say, okay, is there somebody I missed? And none of them compare to Douglas Seal to me. I still as a 42-year-old man, Douglas Seal is Santa Claus.
I haven't watched it in a while. I tried showing it to him maybe a year or two ago, and he just wasn't interested in it.
I watched it a few years ago. The movie does not hold up. Is it
still not the best Ernest movie?
No, I have not. I want to see Ernest. I cannot find a copy of Ernest Goes to Camp.
Is it? And it's not streaming?
No,
that's Disney, right?
I don't know.
I think so. Yeah,
I think all those early Ernest movies are all Disney.
Ernest Goes to Camp was my Ernest movie. That was what I thought the only Ernest movie that was at the top of the. It may not be everybody's. I know James's Ernest Scared Stupid. I think some are Ernest Goes to Jail.
No. Let me clarify here. Ernest Scared Stupid is not the best Ernest movie. I just love the stupid lines it has in it.
Okay.
Like the entire Botswanian lumberjack, Wally, if you're still listening, the Botswanian lumberjack line in that movie, for some reason, it gets me every time. Botswana ain't got no trees. I should know. I'm a Botswanian lumberjack, and I ain't never had a job.
I think the top two of Ernest fans is probably Ernest Saves Christmas or Ernest Goes to Camp. I can't talk, but I mean Ernest Goes to Camp is always my favorite.
Well, hold on, there's another one that they like. Is it Ernest Goes to Africa that people, one of the direct-to-video ones that people defend? I'm serious.
Maybe it's I never, even as an Ernest fan as a kid, I thought that one was bad. And I have not gone back.
Then is it the basketball one? But there's one of them that
there's Ernest Goes to Africa. There's Ernest Rides Again, which is just him stuck on a giant cannon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the one where I was like, all right, we need.
And it looks like it was shot with the home. It looked like it was shot with a home video camera. It was just bad. But like I said, even though it's as an adult, I can't get the enjoyment out of Ernest Saves Christmas that I did as a kid. I still look at Douglas Seal and smile. He just does it. He does that Santa so well. Screw Miracle on 34th Street.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here going. What's I gave one to my boy last year, James.
Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages. Sorry.
These snakes.
Horror movies?
Them poisonous snakes. Now they'll bunch up on you. You gotta poke them, they'll bunch up on you. Anyway, but no, Chad, you're right. Actually, one of the you talking about it made me think about this the scene. As you said, he's losing his magic. And the scene that really sticks with me from that movie, and I haven't seen it in years, is when he says, he has the replacement, because obviously you don't just hand it to somebody. Sorry, Santa Claus. That's not the way it works. That's right, Tim Allen. I'm calling you out. Anyway, they have to be worthy, right? And he's trying to catch this guy before he does something that may make him less worthy. But there's that great scene where he has that speech where he goes, I've gotten to the point where I have to write names down. It shouldn't be done that way. It can't be done that way.
Yeah.
And that line is so, I didn't think of that line as a kid, but when I watched it as an adult, I was like, oh, this humanizes this fantastic character of Santa to say, there is magic, but it has to be passed on.
Right.
Nobody gets to do this forever.
Right.
Santa is the energy, so to speak. I'm saying it poorly, but it's not just a person. It has to be transferred.
And that's that's another reason why that movie has its point, because it has a great story arc of what Santa is. as Pete Douglas Seal. A couple things to note. If you don't know who Douglas Seal is, if you haven't seen it, he's also the Sultan from Aladdin. He's Jasmine's father. James, I don't know if you've looked this up. Do you know what his second to last performance was?
No.
You've brought this up in a previous episode. Phantasmagoria.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
Messes with you, but it's a great game.
Yeah, that was his last performance was a movie called Palookaville, but Phantasmagoria was right before that. So yeah, that's my pick. James, what's your third?
I'm gonna have to go with literally, and Chad, this you could throw your critique at me again. This probably isn't quote unquote really Santa either, but I mentioned Bad Santa so I could talk about
Bad Santa 2?
no, Very Bad Santa. Now,
Why?
stick
You know, I've
with
still
me.
never seen it.
Stick with me a little bit here. Very Bad Santa is from a television show.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the sequel to Bad Santa.
No,
What's
no.
that? Badder
It-
Santa?
No,
Yes.
it's bad. I thought it was
Bad Santa 2. Yeah, because Badder Santa is the director's cut of Bad Santa. Anyway,
Yeah.
Very Bad Santa is the name given, and this show came out, was extremely popular, got a second season, then got canceled, and nobody talks about it anymore, which is a shame because it was the Breaking Bad of bizarre, creepy science fiction horror based on Grant Morrison writing works, and I'm talking about Patton Oswalt voicing Happy.
Oh my God.
The first season of Happy, they have to Nick Sachs, who is this private
Dude,
detective
you
who is
win.
drug
Yeah.
out, who is all this stuff. He's washed up, he's divorced, and
God.
then Santa Claus kidnaps his daughter, and she wishes that, and Santa Claus is not really Santa Claus, it's a drug addict that takes meth and is messed up all the time. She wishes that her protector, which is her imaginary friend Happy, who is a unicorn dragony thing, Patton Oswalt voices him, would find her father so she could be saved. Now, the problem is Nick Sachs is in no condition to rescue anybody because he's a messed up human being.
Yeah.
But then he starts to see her imaginary friend, who, being the imaginary friend of a little girl, is happy-go-lucky and silly and all this stuff. It is a screwed up version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yep.
And it is an absolute blast to watch
I
without your
love that
children.
show.
Do not watch it without with
It
your
is a
children
good
ever.
show, but there is a scene in, is it season 1 or season 2?
Yeah, season 1 with the microwave. Yeah.
I can't. I wish it wasn't in my brain.
Yep. Nope. I agree. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Do not watch it.
I wish
but
it wasn't in my brain.
as
And
far
by the way, the other two boneheads are correct. It is a fantabulous show.
Mm-hmm.
The villain in it is also one of the villains in the new Tulsa King, which I highly recommend.
Oh, you finally got to it?
Yeah, you know what it's like?
What?
It's Justified. By the way, it's not like I'm just saying it's the same quality. It's
Yeah.
a good B show that doesn't have 6,000 layers I have to think about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
It's
on my
just as
to-do list.
entertaining to me as Justified. So I really like it.
And
Stallone's
Sylvester
fantastic in it.
Stallone, any Sylvester Stallone in a slightly comedic role always.
If
has
it
me.
wasn't Stallone, it wouldn't work.
Nope.
That
Absolutely. Right.
role is perfect for him. It is a perfect show for him, but it is right there on that level. I like Justified, and I really like Tulsa King.
Yep. Tulsa King. I love it. Yeah. So, but no, I don't. Honestly, I don't love it more than Happy. Happy
I
brought me
was
so
saying,
much
so-
joy for
but
2
Joe's
seasons.
right.
Same villain.
Joe's right. Happy
Yeah.
has some very disturbing scenes. in it.
Disturbing, and that was
Yes.
the only one that got to me. That one,
Yeah.
I don't need it.
It got to me a little too.
No, I
I
agree.
wish
I
it wasn't
agree.
in my head.
Because
But
it came along right when James wasn't there, but that came out right when Joe and I were fairly new fathers. Joe was
Yeah.
actually almost brand new father, and
brand
I
new.
was only a few years.
I don't need it in my head.
Yeah.
And I, by the way, I do not in any way, shape, or form want to censor them. I just would have maybe at my 20s made the same joke in something that the Boneheads would have done or seen, but I don't know that I would. I don't know. It's one step
Yeah.
too far for me.
But
Well, no, I was gonna say,
I
it's
will
the
give
same
James
way-
props. That is a great Santa pick. I give you props, man. That's an
no,
awesome pick.
because it's the very much, and I think the scene that gets to me the most, to where it does have this almost it's not supernatural, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
Is basically where he gets so strung out that he too can see the imaginary friend.
Right.
And that entire scene where he literally looks at Happy for the first time and he says, "I see you," and he grabs him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what follows, I mean, it was a cliffhanger into an episode where you're like, oh my God. Like there is something to this guy beyond being strung out on meth and all that stuff, that he is a villain of a higher order.
And
God, he
Maloney,
is so strong.
yeah, Maloney
Yeah.
is such a good actor, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the one that came to mind where I'm like, if we're gonna talk about Santa as the villain, I don't think anybody can top that Santa.
Yeah.
I know there's
Also-
tons of Silent Night, Deadly Night. I know there's tons, but that is one of the hands down creepiest. Like the torture that he does to children,
Yeah.
and the depths that it goes through. And then they even try to give him, oh well, here's his backstory. But even then, you're like, yeah, he's still just a terrible person.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
he's
that
terrible.
justifies.
No.
what
Also
that
too,
is.
to give that actor props, he was married to Shannon Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, the other, yeah, he was.
All right, James, are you done?
Yeah, the only
Uh,
other thing I'll say to kind of echo y'all's conversation, if you all remember, I think I made this comment when I was a new father, I couldn't watch Pet Cemetery anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch that scene. if you know
Oddly
the
enough,
scene
that
in
one
Pet
doesn't
Sematary.
bother me, and I
Oh man,
don't
that's
know.
still I still can't go back and watch it.
It doesn't
do it.
bother me, and that's actually one of my favorite Stephen King books, because I always say that book's about how we deal with death. I know it's
Yeah.
a horror novel, but it really isn't a horror novel in the sense. It is a horror novel about the worst horror you can experience,
Yeah.
but it's not, and how we deal with it and lack of dealing with it. So I don't know why that one doesn't bother me, but the other one,
Oh,
Yeah.
and see,
It's
oddly
rough.
enough, Joe, to be honest, I had
It's because
thought about
James's
this
son looks like the kid from
he
Pet
did.
Cemetery.
Well, he not so much anymore, but when he was
Yeah.
young, he did look like Gage. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Hey, now he only looks like it when he's got that scalpel. Put it down. Put it down.
Put it down. Put it down.
All right, Joe, you ready for your first?
Now I'm gonna play with you.
We're ready for your first pick, Joe.
This is not my first pick. This is my third pick. And my third pick is not. I just watched this again the other day because my kid wanted to watch it, and I haven't seen it in a while. And it's not quite as magical to me as, because I saw this in the theater. I loved it. But it's still pretty good. I just don't know that it's still as magical. So what I want to talk about is Ed Asner and Elf. I
Yeah.
think he's a really good Santa. And I was watching it again going, once again, this shouldn't work. This whole damn movie shouldn't work. It works. I don't know that it. So by the way, the movie still works. I'm not saying it doesn't. Elf is still an enjoyable film. Will Ferrell is still mad. The whole thing works. It's one of the few things Zooey Deschanel's in that I don't just despise her. I don't know about the rest of you, but the new girl, all that, not a fan. Anyway, sorry to be a bearer of bad news to all the whole audience. That Pickles. Why does no one wants to talk to me when I'm not talking? That makes no sense.
Yeah. Go on with your first pick.
Bob Newhart was in it. Bob works great. And it has to be the casting, the fact that they have 90-year-olds playing these characters. What do you all think? The Rankin and Bass inspired animation, the way everything, the Rankin and Bass production design throughout the whole movie. But he also, first of all, he has, if I want to read some of this, because Buddy the Elf, I'm pretty sure our whole audience has seen Elf. I'm not going to you all know he goes to New York to find his dad. But Santa, played by Ed Asner, is giving him advice. First of all, if you see gum on the street, leave it there. It isn't free candy. There's but the two favorite lines is like, there's 30 Ray's pizzas. They all claim to be original, but the real one's on 11th Street.
Yeah.
If you see a sign that says Peep Show, that doesn't mean that they're letting you look at presents before Christmas. I had the chance to meet Ed Asner. I was going to interview him, and then he up and died, 3-4 weeks before he was coming to Lexington Comic-Con?
Really rude of him. I would send a letter to his management.
So when I said I had the chance, I never did get that chance. I was excited about it. Ed Asner had a great career, and he was a famous guy, but he was a character actor in his heart. He was a character actor, just happened to be famous. I think he just plays a Santa that's not too sweet, that's not too funny, that's kind of real, and has to run the North Pole. Gentlemen, next.
I am going to tie into that because I disagree with Ed Asner being the best one. Who
What?
has that?
He's
Who has
the
that?
best in Santa. He's just one of my favorites.
I know, but I just, in terms of what you just said about he's not the best Santa. He's actually just he's a good guy, but he also has to run
Uh-huh.
the North Pole. Now, the movie I'm going to pick, I am going to freely admit, I am not a huge fan of. It's not a good fit. It's not. It's a flawed film, but the performance of Santa is damn near perfect. Paul Giamatti, Fred Claus.
I knew somebody would do it.
He was
I
on
knew.
several lists. I couldn't pick him because I just did not like that movie so much. But you're right. He is the best part of the movie. But
Yeah,
there's not even anything close to him.
And the truth is, Paul Giamatti, any movie he's in, he's the best part of. And this is this is the same case. I am not a fan of Fred Claus. I can't sit here and tell you that I like the film.
Can't recommend it.
I can't.
Okay, real quick, Chad. Challenge. Yeah. You have to watch one. Are you going Fred Claus or Arthur Christmas?
Fred Claus.
Okay.
I can't stand Arthur Christmas. I just can't. That one's unwatchable for me. I'm sorry for our viewers who disagree with that. I just could not get into Arthur's Christmas.
I think I actually watched it, and if I did, I barely remember it.
Yeah.
That's the animated one, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that it would be better if it was Arthur Fonzarelli's Christmas. Hey,
did I just shit on your pick? Do you like Arthur Christmas over Fred Claus?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't tell you the difference between the two, to be honest, Chad.
I normally want to argue with Chad, but I agree with him.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti's really good in that movie.
Yeah, I mean,
I've never seen it once though.
By the way,
he's a good Santa.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti doing Scrooge in a TV commercial actually made me want to go, I'd like to see him do Scrooge in a movie. I would.
And at the same time I was watching it going,
well, we are seeing him play Scrooge in a cell phone commercial.
That's what I mean.
That's what he just said.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part.
Oh, it's that.
Were you shopping?
By the way, I'd like to thank both of y'all for tuning in this episode.
Has this episode started yet?
No, we're still waiting on your first pick. No,
Hold
but
on.
yeah,
Marianne Farley from Paintsville, you're on the line.
I know, but no, he is great. I mean, he's just a loving guy. He just loves Christmas. He loves everybody. But he has this loser brother who also he cares about and tries everything he can to make his brother happy. And his brother is just so against everything his brother Santa Claus stands for. And when it reaches the boiling point where you actually see Paul Giamatti snap, it's great. You're still seeing he cares, but at the same time, he just what?
I don't remember the scene.
Oh yeah, he snaps and they get into a big brawl. And Santa Claus, who's old, hurts his back, and that's why that leads the whole thing about why Fred Claus has to. Spoiler: Fred Claus has to take over for Santa.
Well, son of a bitch, I can't go back and rewatch it.
Yeah,
I was so that had one of the best coming attraction trailers. Do you remember? It's just them sitting on their couch.
No.
Talking, and I thought this movie's going to be amazing, and it was such a piece of shit. And nobody was hotter than Vince
Vaughn.
Vince Clortho.
But it's just Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn, also known for his role in Psycho.
Yeah, but nobody at that moment, guys, remember it was right after Wedding Crashers. Nobody was hotter than Vince.
Right. But all he was doing was playing the same character, so it's not like it was a huge stretch.
Yeah, that movie doesn't work.
No, but Paul Giamatti as Santa Claus does. And I mean, he's great. And, the fact that he loves his mom, Kathy Bates, and she's there. And I mean, it doesn't come close to Douglas Seal, but again, that's a great performance of Santa Claus. And I thought it deserved a mention.
I want to do something different.
Okay.
Instead of saying honorable mentions, can we talk about the Santas that we hate?
Oh,
can I do one honorable mention?
Honorable mention.
What
I want to tear into a Santa.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up because I actually had it before. Thinking I was actually going to bring this up, and then I lost my pick. So hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me do this honorable mention because if we don't mention it, we might actually upset some people. And it's only Santa Claus in the movie version. And I, of course, am talking about the Santa that shows up to give out weapons and whatnot. That would be the Jesus allegory lion picture.
Oh yeah,
Chronicles of Narnia. Now, in the book, it's Father Christmas, which is Santa Claus, but it's a British versus
Right.
American. But the movie, if you pay attention, the movie actually never addresses him as Father Christmas because they were worried, much like they were in the world of Harry Potter, with will Americans know what Father Christmas is? So they resolved that by never actually naming him. So you just know if you were brought up with Santa Claus that he's Santa Claus. If you brought up with Father Christmas, you know he's Father Christmas. But I wanted to mention him as an honorable mention because if you think about it, again, we all know Chronicles of Narnia is big on allegory for Christianity and things like that. But Santa shows up and says, listen, the White Queen's reign is weakening, blah, 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 blah. And he hands out gifts. Now, in the book, he actually gives the beavers gifts too. Joe, is this where you want to do your flashback to, oh my God, a talking beaver?
Mr. Thomas. Christy Lewis called you Mr. Thomas for like 6 years.
But in the book, She Beaver gets a new sewing machine. It's the name it's the name of the book. Anyway, but the children, Peter gets a sword, Susan gets a bow and arrow, and Lucy gets a healing cordial, okay, but then a dagger. And so it's a very different take on, I mean, they're given weapons that will save them and will actually help release the kingdom from the reign of tyranny of the White Queen, the White Witch. But it is a different way than we've seen Santa in a lot of things. And again, it is coming from C.S. Lewis, very much of its time and things like that, and very high on allegory, obviously. But I knew we had to at least acknowledge the Jesus allegory lion picture and its use of Santa Claus as well. So that's my honorable mention.
Let me talk about the son of a bitch and Santa that I can't stand. I want to cut his damn tongue out.
Okay.
Every year. So I didn't grow up watching Rudolph. And then finally in my 20s, I watched it at Morehead State University in my apartment, Alumni Tower. For some odd reason. I don't remember ever watching all of Rudolph. Probably because my dad wouldn't want to watch it. And I watched it. And I thought, this Santa Claus is the biggest asshole I've ever met. Watched it again the other day. Santa Claus is the biggest asshole I've ever met.
Yep.
Talk about non-inclusive. Talk about just a piece of shit. Fuck that Santa.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah.
I just and Rudolph Donner, whatever his name is, Richard Donner, his dad. Fuck him.
He was one of the top two of the Santas I hate. So yeah.
I can't stand that Santa. I mean, and I get it. Ranking it, it's a classic, and I understand why it's a classic.
No, but he very much is a loser.
I don't care for Rudolph. It's one of those Christmas specials that my kids will, they haven't asked to watch it this year, but when they do watch it, I kind of tune out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it as a kid, but I didn't like it because of Santa, right?
Santa's an asshole.
He's terrible.
And then at the end, he comes in and goes, oh, by the way, I didn't want you anywhere near me, and now I need your help, so get up there and do it, bitch.
Yeah.
And then Rudolph, because he is a bitch, does it. Rudolph should have said, fuck you.
Or Rudolph is the true meaning of Christmas.
Rudolph should have said, fuck you, instead of being a bitch.
And then Jesus comes in and takes Santa's powers for being a dick.
Chad.
Oh, mine.
I had a mic drop moment, and you just wouldn't do it. Go, Chad.
Nope. I'm sorry. Your first pick was terrible. No. I want to talk about, other than that Rudolph, that Santa, the other, and I hated the movie with a passion, and I hated his version of Santa Claus. Alec Baldwin's Rise of the Guardians.
I've never seen it.
It's awful.
But it's on some lists as far as good Santas.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I don't remember hating him as Santa. I mean, it's a different way to approach Santa because he's basically a warrior, right?
They turned him into a Viking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he's just a big, strong guy. And I'm just like, and his voice that he does, it's not, I just thought it was awful. I mean, there's nothing nuanced about him being Santa Claus. And that whole movie, I think, is terrible, to be honest with you. I just could never get into it. Oh, it's
Like-
all these magical beings that are superheroes.
Yeah, my kids liked it, but I can't. I mean, I watch it with them. I can't. They don't ask to watch it now, so take that as you will.
I just could not stand him. And I admittedly like Alec Baldwin in a lot of things, even though he's problematic. But
Well, I mean, just don't go to the gun range with him.
or get on an airplane with him.
Yeah.
Or just have a general conversation with him. Yeah. Talk about politics or anything else like that. No. Or breathe in his general direction.
Now, you can say that about a lot of people, which is why I myself want there to be a show that's co-hosted with Alec Baldwin and James Woods. I'm not saying I'll watch it, but I bet it would be fun to like just give me the highlights once a week.
But I bet James Woods is easier to deal with just in everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from everything that I've heard, actually, Seth MacFarlane talking about having James Woods on Family Guy said, yeah, I appear you're probably right.
That everyday life. He would be like some of our other friends. Like, oh, he's fun. Don't listen to any of his horseshit.
Yeah, that's one of those.
We'll take your literature, but we're trying to watch our program.
That's one of those guys who I now don't want to care about, but I still love Digstown.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
I gotta learn that more as I get older.
Yeah. So no, Joe took my first pick of it's Rudolph. That Santa is awful. Alec Baldwin is a close second. Yeah.
And we didn't talk about Tim Allen's The Santa Claus, and the only reason I didn't bring it up is because I don't hate it and I don't love it.
Yeah, same here.
So
yeah, I mean,
I've not watched the new series. In fact, I don't even think
other than Galaxy Quest, that's every Tim Allen movie ever for me.
Yeah, I don't hate it and don't love it, so don't have any. I was wondering if the kid would get interested.
And for everyone, that goes for Toy Story. Come at me.
Oh man,
I'm joking.
Toy Story, don't say that. All right, Chad, James, anything else, guys?
I've got one.
Son of a bitch.
One. No, you said we all need to do one that we hate.
We needed to. I said I would like.
Well, you said that's what you wanted to challenge us. I haven't done one yet.
Challenge you to a duel.
And I got one honorable mention that
this is a movie that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
No, just my quick honorable mention: J.K. Simmons in the movie Claws.
Yeah, I've not seen it. That was on some list too, but I've never.
It is so good, and it's Santa as a human being, and it's got a lot of emotional pull to it, and he does a very nuanced performance of Santa, just why he cares. So go James.
I want to do a Santa I hate. Now I don't hate the film, but I remember as a kid this scene with this Santa literally always got me oh my God, what a terrible Santa. What an absolute terrible Santa. And then I was looking up the actors, so I could say the actor's name, and I realized he has a bunch of basically short appearances in films, roles like Man in Bathroom. But he also directed a film called Deranged Confessions of a Necrophile. I won't be checking that out, but if you're interested, I'm talking about the man who played Santa in A Christmas Story. The mall Santa is Jeff Gillen. And I remember watching that as a kid where he kicks Ralphie down the slide. And that literally, because I grew up in a town that was small and we didn't have mall Santas. My first exposure, we didn't have a mall.
We didn't.
My first exposure to the concept of a mall Santa was A Christmas Story. And so that burned its way into my head. So Jeff Gillen playing the terrible, terrible mall Santa that kicks poor Ralphie down a flight of stairs. Sadly, he passed away at the age of 52 in 1994, but he did that role.
Could have left that whole piece out.
Christmas Story came out in 1983. Do you want to know what his next role was 5 years later?
Oh,
it's your favorite Police Academy film, Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach. He then made one more appearance in 1991. Yeah, he's the thief's victim.
Oh, okay. I thought I was
Um,
like, I was gonna say, is he the goon? Is he the goon that works with Richard Renee Auberjonois who gets mustard all over him?
No, that's
No.
not who he is. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, I don't
Damn.
even know the scene, but I can tell you that's not who he is. But anyway, he only had one appearance after Miami Beach, Assignment Miami Beach. In the television series Only Fools and Horses, he played once again man in restroom. But
Listen,
Jeff Gillen as the mall Santa that Higby's Santa
Higby's
that kicks poor Ralphie down the slide when he asked for his beloved Red Ryder. That was my first exposure to mall Santas and scarred me for life. I've never trusted them. I'm afraid they're going to kick me.
I don't think there's one picture of me with a Santa. In fact, I can barely remember them wanting me to see a Santa, and I wouldn't do it when I can't remember.
I got a picture.
But
with
they
a
wouldn't have
Santa-
taken. Only way I would have gotten to do it is if there were already a Santa someplace they were going.
I had a picture with a Santa at my dad's work Christmas party. It's a Polaroid. I don't think my mom still has it. I think she lost it.
Threw it away.
I probably burned it. Didn't want any memories of me. She's waiting for the Alzheimer's to kick in to finish it.
Oh my God,
His mom,
that's terrible. I
his
mean, it's
mom
accurate,
actually
but
wrote the
still.
first draft of it at Sunshine, the Eternals published. Charlie Kaufman's never given that hooker her credits.
Oh
Oh,
my god.
Well,
good time.
God,
So anyway, these have been Santas that we had opinions about.
yeah.
Perhaps you have other ones, in which case start your own show, but please don't compete with us. We barely are making it as it is.
That's it. This has been Bonehead Weekly.